If you have your Bibles with you this morning, I'd like for you to turn with me to Matthew, the 8th chapter, verses 5 through 10. Matthew, the 8th chapter, verses 5 through 10. Matthew 8, 5 through 10. And when Jesus entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, imploring him, and saying, Lord, my servant is lying paralyzed at home, fearfully tormented. And Jesus said to him, I will come and heal him. But the centurion said, Lord, I am not worthy for you to come under my roof, but just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I also am a man under authority, with soldiers under me, and I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my slave, do this, and he does it. Now when Jesus heard this, he marveled and said to those who were following, truly I say to you, I have not found such great faith with anyone in Israel. When the President of the United States makes an executive order or issues an executive order, it usually deals with some federal regulation. They frequently do this to make things clearer. They want to, they think that things are not, people are not understanding things, or the president or whomever it is, so they want to put things in plain English. I said a while back, a few years ago, I talked about a cartoonist by the name of McNally. And he was writing during the Carter administration, and he was talking about how muddled everything was that was being spoken. So the caption of the little caption at the bottom of the drawing of, it was a man at a table with a stack of papers, and he was muddling through, and he said, and the cartoon was talking about, hereby order all federal agencies. This is the memo that came out. That henceforth to write all regulations in clear, understandable English in order that the intertransmission of transfactual realities and information modes impact on social input of source-related techniques. Well, nobody would understand that. But that is, that's that jargon, you know. The president wanted to make it simpler, is what the cartoon is trying to say. With all due respect to lawyers, you know, and Billy goes through everything with me when I go through with him. But a lot of times lawyers are I'm just as lost when I read what they said. Especially in insurance policy, I'm lost. I really can't tell you what kind of insurance I have sometimes as I read it. And you read the disclaimer on medications, and you don't know whether to take it or not, because it's just so hard to read. I was thinking the other day about the taxes. You know, everybody wants to go, a lot of people want to go to flat tax. And I was saying, you know, there'd be something wrong with that after a while. And I got to thinking about if you robbed a store, not only would they get you for the criminal act, but for not paying your taxes. So there would be a way to get you on a flat tax even. And some of the announcers on television, especially Dick Vitale, he talks so quick, so rapidly that I can't keep up with him half of the time. So I have a real problem trying to follow him. I just want to turn the sound down and just listen to the ball game. I mean, watch the ball game, that is. We need to deflate some of this bloated language that we hear, and not only the bloated language, but the bloated people who produce the language. There's a clear disability in this country that people are trying to, or especially in the government, using words that are just beyond. It's not plain talk. We ministers have a tendency to do that. We use a lot of cliches and overly pious language, which muddles everything in the gospel. You know, it's a pity that all the rest of the New Testament is not written like the first four Gospels. They're pretty clear. Just like we read today. They are really clear. You get over into Paul and you get over into the other writers, and it becomes quite laborious and labor. You gotta labor in the word there, but it's so straightforward there in the Gospels. When I was in seminary, you know, the teacher would say, keep things simple. When you use clear words, short sentences, colorful words, if you cannot say it within 20 minutes, then you've gone too long. And if you work on it, if you're using 10 words to express something, boil it down to 4 words. You could say it in fewer words. I have a problem with people who say amen after every other word. They'll preach a word and they'll say amen, and they'll preach another word and they'll say amen. I get so caught up with the amens that I'm losing the message. We need to bring things from Judea and bring them to Georgia. We need to bring things out of the first century and put them in the 21st century. That is why I hear people say, well, I just don't like these new translations. I like the old version of the King James. And I'll tell them right away, I can't read King James. I never have been able to read King James. And if I were to ask them a lot of times, what are you reading into King James? And they'd say, well, I just love it. It's God's Word. Well, I don't think you can do the Psalms without King James. The King James is beautiful for the Psalms. I mean, they're just absolutely, but you get over in some parts, King James, the old King James. I'm not talking about the new King James. I'm talking about the old King James. It's just very difficult to try to understand. Their prayers need to be simple. Their sermons need to be simple and to the point. That's the whole thing that the Protestant church started on, is trying to get people to understand and put it in a position for people to understand the Word. And allow people to have the Word in their own home and in their own, and not feel like, well, the church is the only place you can go get it. And then you couldn't get it because it was a Latin problem. And so it was very frustrating. As I told you a story of a girl that had been in church all her life, and she had never really had the Word spoken. She never had really owned the Bible. And she got her first Bible, and she just broke down. She started going to our church, and she just broke down crying. All this has something to do about the importance of words. It's what I'm trying to say. And the Bible speaks. And the Bible is a spoken word. And it's very serious. The ancient Hebrews, to speak it carries energy with it. And y'all, I want to tell you something. Words can just change the whole fabric of a society. You let the Secretary of State say something, just one word out of place, and governments go crazy. You let the finance secretary, or whoever that is, say one word about the economy, about inflation or something, the whole economy, the stock market drops. Words have power. That's why when God created the heavens and the earth, He said, and God said. We're moved by words. We hurt people by words. We tear them down. We build them up. We alienate. We bring them together. The psalmist said, let the words of your mouth and the meditations of your heart be acceptable in thy sight. Words. Jesus was the Word, and the Word became flesh, and the Word was God. His words were considered powerful. The Roman soldier that we read about this morning, he came to Jesus, and his servant was paralyzed. And he says, and Jesus told him to go on, and that he would be right on. And the centurion said, no, you don't have to go. Just say the word and he will be healed. You don't have to go there. Jesus healed people who were sick by the word. We need to be truthful in our words. We need to be honest in our words, in our comments. Words are designed to, should not be, if we're making a promise, not to take that promise lightly. Words corrupt businesses and public life. I'll talk about plain talk for just a minute, in a couple of three different ways. Know first, there is a great need for human relations to keep the lines of communication. I do a good bit of marriage counseling. And the one thing that I find out that there is not a lot of communication. I'm in the process of one right now. And there's not a lot of communication. Sharon and I talk about everything. I know what's coming up, but I'll ask Angela, and I'll ask Whit, and I'll ask others. Well, what about something? And they say, well, I don't know what, I hadn't heard that. You know, I wonder sometimes, well, y'all don't communicate. Communication. We don't exchange. We don't say what's on our minds or our hearts, and therefore, ill feelings take place. I don't know what you're thinking. I need to know what you're thinking, and the only way I can know what you're thinking, I can't read your mind. You got to tell me in words what you're thinking. So when couples start saying, well, when you start depending on flowers, as I've said one other time, when you start depending on flowers to express your feelings, you got a problem marriage. If you're depending on things, you got a problem marriage. The only way to correct that problem is to get over silence. Talking. Annie Davis, I've used this illustration before. I thought they were just so good. She's a Christian social minister at the Southern Baptist Seminary in Louisville. She tells the story of growing up, and she went home with a girl one day, a classmate. She went home with her, and she spent the night with her. And that night, the girl's mother came in, and she kissed her daughter, and she hugged her, and she said, "Have a good night, and she walked out of the room. Well, and she said that the next night she went home and poised ready and got herself set up for her mother to come in and kiss her, and she was making sure that she would get that kiss, and her mother would look at her and say, "Have a good night's sleep," and and maybe even prayer, but her mother didn't. And she talks about how she was hurt, that the fact is my mother doesn't love me. She carried that wound, she says, for 30 years. And one day she and her mother began to talk. And her mother said, "You never told me that that's what you wanted. You never said to me that I want that type of affection." The mother went on to say, "My mother died when I was 10. And after that, I never had any. I never went to school with clean clothes. They were wrinkled. I vowed that when I had a family, that I would make sure that they had clean clothes. And breakfast in the morning, that kind of thing. I meant I was going to be a good parent." At that moment, The mother realized that the importance of words. They were passing ships. Mother was thinking one thing, and the daughter was thinking another. You can't read minds. She was in pain for 30 years. The mother was in pain for 30 years. Until that daughter and that mother realized that they had been talking. And they loved each other deeply. Plain talk. It's important to speak words of praise. And we know that in schools that parents who praise their children, that those children seem to want to praise other children. I've said on another occasion that we can't praise too much. When we praise when it's something really mediocre, when it's really not good, then you're praising inappropriately. You can praise if that is good, because they are coming up, and it's not the best, but they are doing better. That's a good time to praise. But when you praise everything, you're setting yourself up. Because then when you do praise them for something they really do well, then it's just like, you know, if I don't do it well, I get praised. If I do it well, I get praised, you know. It does make a difference. How about the paper boy? The paper boy, if he was riding down your street nowadays, we don't have the paper boys as many paper boys around now. But if the paper boy were to sling your paper into the over to you towards your house, the front porch, and it falls in the mud hole, you get out and you just beat that, you just berate that kid to the point that you have him in tears. Well, you never said one thing for 365 days out of the year when he did it right. But you got him good when he did it that one time bad. I read of a woman who was a very poor linguist. She had a problem with languages, and she was traveled all over the world, and she said she wanted to learn one thing. She said you learn one word in that language that is a good word, and the word she learned was beautiful. And everything whenever she'd look out the window of a bus and she would say to the person, "Isn't that beautiful?" She'd say, "Beautiful." And somebody would come up to them with a coat on or dressed neatly, and she'd say, "That's beautiful." She had friends all over the world, but she knew only one word in that language. Beautiful. That just captivated them. There's two great bodies of water in Israel. There's the Sea of Galilee, which the water from the Jordan runs in when it comes in from the mountains of Syria, and I guess you could say, or Lebanon, and the waters come into the Jordan and to the Sea of Galilee, and they pass out of the Sea of Galilee right on down to the Dead Sea. We've said the Dead Sea is the deepest part on the face of the earth. But the waters never leave the Dead Sea. They evaporate. And if I had heard the story, if I was reading the story of Jesus walking on the water, I would have said, well, no big deal. He's walking on the Dead Sea. If you've ever been to the Dead Sea, you can float on it. I mean, virtually can't get underwater. It's so thick. And it's getting thicker and thicker and saltier and saltier. And when you go in there, you come out shriveled too. It's a bad place. But Christianity is like that. You take it in, and you come to church and you take it in. And you keep taking it in. But you never let it flow out. It kills Christianity. Birds won't even fly. The legend has won't fly over the Dead Sea. I know that's not true. I was there. I know birds fly over it, but the legend has it birds don't even fly over it. It's so bad. But when we don't talk about our church, when we don't talk about to others about Christ, when we just come and we get filled and we go away from here, we're no more than the Dead Sea. We need to be telling people about College Hill. We need to be inviting people to come, working hard to bring people into college. But more than that, bring people to the faith. But if we don't, we are no more than the Dead Sea. We got water coming in, but we're dying. You think about it. Today we're going to hope and pray that we open the floodgates to this, what we receive here, and we're going to send it out into the community. That may not mean great growth. We may never become more than the Jordan River, which is nothing very much the Jordan River. But at least there's a trickle of water going out to help others. And we're not getting stagnated. We're going to turn our hymn books this morning. You think about it. Think about allowing the water in your life and the Spirit in your life to flow out of your life into the lives of others.